I didn't argue. That's what confused everyone. When my father barked at, "You're grounded until you apologize to your stepmom," it wasn't really about an apology. It was theater. We were halfway through dessert, forks clinking against plates, cousins leaning back in their chairs, the television murmuring in the background. He didn't pull me aside. He didn't lower his voice. He performed it. Laughter followed. Not cruel laughter, exactly. The kind people use when they're relieved the spotlight isn't on them. My face burned. I felt it in my ears, in my throat. But I only said, "All right." That word unsettled him for a second. He was expecting pushback. He thrived on pushback. Instead, I gave him stillness. I excused myself early that night. No door slamming, no music blasting. Just quiet movement. I folded clothes carefully. Packed documents first: birth certificate, passport, the folder I'd been adding to for months, my grandmother's trust paperwork, copies of the guardianship amendment she'd filed before she passed. I hadn't planned to leave that exact night, but humiliation has a way of clarifying timelines. I lay on my bed for a long time before sleeping, not crying, not furious. Just finished. In the morning, the house sounded normal. Coffee machine hissing, cabinet doors closing, my stepmother's voice carrying from the kitchen, tight and performative. I loaded the last box in my car before anyone noticed. I didn't leave a note. I left copies. When my father called my name down the hallway and got no answer, I was already 2 streets away. He called again, this time sharper. Then silence. Later, I learned what happened next. He stood in my doorway and saw the empty closet, the cleared desk, the mattress stripped bare. At first, he assumed drama, a tactic. He'd always framed my boundaries as attention-seeking. He went back to the kitchen smirking. "Finally learned your place," he said aloud, expecting me to emerge sheepish from somewhere. But the room stayed quiet. Then the doorbell rang. Our family lawyer didn't visit casually. He was not a friend of the family. He was the executor of my grandmother's estate. A meticulous, careful man who never wasted urgency. He entered already tense. I wasn't there to see my father's expression change, but I imagine it the moment confidence fractures not emotionally, but structurally. "Sir," the lawyer said, voice shaking in a way professionals rarely allow, "what have you done?" The paperwork my grandmother left was simple but specific. If my legal guardian created an environment deemed emotionally hostile or coercive, documented through witnesses or recordings, I had the right to petition for immediate relocation to a trustee-approved residence. The trust funds would follow me, not him. I hadn't hidden the recordings. They weren't dramatic, just consistent. Years of small public belittlements, financial control threats, ultimatums disguised as discipline. Last night's performance was simply the clearest example. And I hadn't even raised my voice. The lawyer informed him that I'd filed an emergency petition at 7012 that morning, that I'd already been approved for temporary relocation, that any attempt to interfere could trigger a review of guardianship and potential financial penalties. Legal language does something shouting never can. It removes oxygen. My father tried to frame it as teenage overreaction. The lawyer didn't debate him. He referenced clauses, dates, signatures. Video timestamps. Authority shifted in that moment, not because I humiliated him back, but because I stepped outside his stage entirely. By afternoon, he'd left me 3 voicemails. The first was angry, the second defensive, the third careful. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I signed a short-term lease on a small apartment owned by the trust. Not luxurious, not dramatic, just mine. People imagine moments like this feel victorious. They don't. The first night alone was quiet in a way that made my chest ache. No house sounds, no tension humming under the walls, just stillness and the faint buzz of a refrigerator. I sat on the floor eating takeout from a carton and let myself feel the weight of it. He hadn't just humiliated me that night. He had tried to cement a hierarchy, to shrink me publicly so I'd stay manageable privately, and for years it worked. But something about hearing laughter soft, social, complicit, shifted something in me. I realized I wasn't fighting for respect in that house anymore. I was auditioning for it, and I was tired of auditioning. A week later, I met the lawyer in his office. We reviewed long-term options. College funds, living arrangements. The trust wasn't unlimited, but it was sufficient. My grandmother had anticipated something like this. She believed in structure, the lawyer said gently. I nodded. She believed in preparation. My father eventually stopped calling daily. His messages became measured. He asked to talk like adults. He said he never meant it like that. Maybe he didn't. But intention doesn't erase impact. We met once, months later, in a neutral office space. Not home, not my apartment. He looked smaller, not physically, but in certainty. He tried to joke at first. I didn't. We spoke calmly about boundaries, about what public respect actually means. He didn't apologize in the cinematic way people expect. No tears, no dramatic admissions. But he did say quietly, I didn't think you'd actually leave. That was the truest thing he'd said in years. He hadn't believed I had leverage. I told him I didn't leave to punish him. I left because staying required shrinking. There was no hug at the end, no reconciliation montage, just a handshake that felt formal and unfamiliar. Our relationship didn't collapse entirely. It changed shape, thinner, more careful. Conversations monitored. Visits scheduled. Power didn't swing wildly in my direction. It stabilized. I still think about that night sometimes. The fork clinking against plates, the echo of laughter. I don't replay it with anger anymore. It was a line, and I crossed it quietly. No celebration followed, no social media announcement, no victory speech, just distance. And in that distance, something steadier than revenge autonomy, not loud, not dramatic, undeniable.